David and Stephanie Olt.
Yes, sir.
Owners of property located at 19 State Hill Road have submitted an application requesting variance from section 504 area, yard, and height regulations. Property is located in C1 Neighborhood Commercial District. No, I'm going to paraphrase it. The applicant also owns an auto body repair business that operates from the property located at 1140 Hobart Avenue. Minimum yard setback in C1 is 20 feet. Existing single family dwelling is 8 feet back from the property line. The existing one-story office building is 4.5 feet back from the property line. The applicant is proposing to demolish both structures to build a 2-story showroom with office space and basement storage. The existing parking lot will be expanded to provide 13 parking spaces that will comply with all zoning ordinance regulations, including the number of required spaces. The new showroom and office building will be built using a portion of the foundation of existing dwelling. Applicant is requesting a variance from section 504 area, yard, and height regulations to allow the new showroom and office building to be built 13 feet off the property line adjacent to Hobart Avenue. While the existing office building is only located 4.5 feet off the property line adjacent to Hobart Avenue, the area of the new showroom and office building will encroach into the front yard setback is not being built in the same location. Therefore, a continuation of the existing nonconformity is not permitted and the variance must be granted. Applicant included a request for variance from section 608 loading areas to not be required to provide off-street parking or unloading spaces. The applicant included a request for variance from 615.2 corner lot restrictions, which requires a clear sight triangle of 150 feet for intersections with an arterial street. There is no definition provided in the zoning ordinance or subdivision and land development ordinance for an arterial street. I'm guessing we're going to find out what one is.
Or not.
Or not. Okay. I should so want to get this. I forget what I have to do next. I have to introduce everybody down here. At the table is Michelle Baer, who you certainly know, and Najla Batish, who is a member of the Zoning Hearing Board. Robert Ullman is a member of the Zoning Hearing Board. Dan Becker is counsel, and I'm David Rothman, the chairman of the Zoning Hearing Board. And Mr. Becker is going to tell us how we're going to do this.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Price has appeared before us many times, so he's pretty familiar with the process. But for Mr. Olt, I'll explain to you. What happens is today it's your burden to explain why the relief that's being requested should be granted. You can do that through testimony and exhibits. I believe just looking behind me, I see there's a board already up, so it looks like we're going to have some exhibits, and I expect you will be providing testimony. I also see a gentleman at the end of the table, Mr. Price. Can you tell me who that?
That's Mr. Earl Felty.
That's what I thought that was. I have not seen Mr. Felty for quite some time. Hello, Mr. Felty. So I believe we'll probably have a witness from Mr. Felty as well. What will happen is after all the testimony and exhibits have been presented, the board members and I may have questions for you as well. After all of the questions have been answered, then the board will go into an executive session to deliberate. And typically this board will render an oral decision the same day as the hearing, and then will issue a written decision within 45 days. Do either you or your counsel have any questions about how we will proceed today?
I know.
Okay, if not, then Mr. Chairman.
All right, then I think we should start by swearing the witnesses, and Michelle, please. Raise your hand.
Right. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
And Mr. Price, the dance floor is yours.
All right, I'll remember if Mr. Becker entered exhibits first or not, but I will start. For the record, my name is Steve Price. I'm with Mogul, Spidell, Bob, and Kirshner, located at 520 Walnut Street, Reading, Pennsylvania, 19610. I'm here on behalf of David R. and Stephanie Olt. I have two witnesses to present today, Mr. Olt and Mr. Felty, and we have an additional exhibit, which is an architect's rendering of the proposed building.
I believe, Mr. Price, that has already been marked by the stenographer as applicant's exhibit 1.
Right, because I believe the plot plan was attached. Yeah, but it was attached to the
To
application.
the application, that's correct.
Could you state your full name and address for the record, Mr. Olt?
David Olt, 109 Cliff Drive, Pine Grove, PA.
And do you own 19 State Hill Road?
I do.
And with whom do you own that
My
property?
wife?
And has she authorized you to represent her interests before the board today?
Yes.
And can you briefly describe to the board what's existing at 19 State Hill Road today?
There's a small office and a residence, one dwelling residence there.
And across an alley on Hobart Street is 1140 Hobart Street, correct?
Correct.
And what's located there?
We have a Linux franchise and an auto body business.
Auto body repair?
Repair, yes.
And how long have you operated that Linux and auto body repair at that Hobart Avenue address?
About 10 years.
And what was it used for before that, do you know?
Same business.
All right, and could you explain to the board what Linux is?
Linux is a protective coating, sprayed on back of trucks to protect them from rusting and taking care of everything inside of it.
And you don't plan on doing anything at 1140 Hobart that you're not already doing there already, correct?
No.
Can you explain to the board what Linux has told you with respect to your franchise, what you need to do?
They would like me to get a bigger showroom than what I have now. Right now I just have a small place, so they would like to bring it up, kind of have like brand, nicer place to bring people in and advertise everything.
So at 19 State Hill Road, you plan on knocking down 2 existing structures, and you'd like to put up the structure that's been marked as Exhibit 1, correct?
Correct.
What would be on the first, let me ask you this. Is the footprint of that proposed building 2,080 square feet?
Yes,
And it would be a 2-story building?
correct.
What would be on the first floor?
That would be the showroom where if you look down the bottom, that's where all the windows are. Showroom would be down bottom. Then we would have office space along the whole top floor, and then storage in the back.
And have you had a chance, have any neighbors, since you've had the property posted, have anybody raised objections to it?
No.
To orient the board, behind the proposed structure are 2 residences, correct?
Correct.
And then beyond that would be Mobile Tire and Wheel,
Correct.
and then it would be an apartment building owned by Mobile Tire, or David Mobile and his wife.
Yes.
And then if you were heading east on Penn Avenue from that apartment building at the corner of Penn and State Hill, there's a number of commercial structures as well.
Yes, that's correct.
And they back up to your property either at 11 or 19 State Hill or 1140 Hobart, correct?
Correct.
And across the street, what's located there, across Hobart from your building?
Russo's?
And that's a commercial use?
Yes.
Now, you have a property at 19 State Hill, or 19 State Hill Road that's 9,000 some square feet, correct?
Correct.
So that's a non-conforming lot in that zoning district, correct?
Correct.
You did not create that lot,
No.
purchase it the way it's at.
Yes.
And do you believe that the relief that you're gonna ask for is the minimum relief so that you can satisfy Linex, your franchisor, and provide your customers with a modern, clean building?
Yes.
Do you believe that the proposed structure will alter the character of the neighborhood?
No.
Do you think it will help the character of the neighborhood?
Absolutely.
Do you think it will help increase property values in that neighborhood?
Absolutely.
Now, the existing buildings are much closer to the setback line, the property line, than your proposed building, correct?
Correct.
And can you tell us why you set your building back further than the existing buildings? That's 13 feet from the property line.
We just want to try to keep everything aligned with the adjacent buildings down the alley.
And when you
So
say,
everything's in line and looks nice.
when you say the adjacent buildings, is there another, going back towards the old Wyomissing Industries on Hobart, is there another existing commercial use on your side of the street?
Yes, the woodworking shop.
And the woodworking shop, is that approximately 13 feet off the property line?
Yes.
So as an appearance, if you're coming down Hobart heading to State Hill, you would see an even facade of structures in that block.
That is correct.
And that's why you did it.
Yes.
And did you engage Olson Architects to provide that drawing for us today?
Yes, I did.
And those are the materials that you can see that you intend to use on the building?
Yes.
And you haven't engaged a contractor yet to give you an estimate on prices or anything like
Not
that?
yet, no.
I think that's all the questions I have for Mr. Olt.
Board? When you said the lot is 9,000 square feet, is that just the corner lot?
Yes, sir. That's 19 State Hill. 1140 Hobart is on a different deed. It's across the alley and it's different square footage.
Okay, and that's actually the operating shop.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Did you say that the current structures are further into the setback than the new, so you're becoming more compliant?
Correct.
Just want to make sure I have that.
Yeah, the one is 4 feet and the other is,
I'm sorry, one at a time.
the one is 4.5, the other's 8.
But why don't we wait, you can have Mr. Felton testify to that in a minute. So, I just want to understand the general proposition is that you're actually making it more compliant than it is now.
Correct.
Understood. Thank you.
The little office building that was a thrift shop or something for 1,000 years.
Correct. Before I purchased the property, the rumor I heard was there was a dress shop in it.
Yeah.
That's
right.
what I was told
That
was
makes
in there.
sense. Yeah.
A dress shop and I believe a video game.
Yeah.
That's only rumors.
Yeah. I wonder what other rumors about what they were saying.
Do you have any more questions
No.
for Mr. Olt? Okay.
Good.
We'll switch seats.
Well, he can stay, he can stay.
No, I'd
You want
rather,
him? Okay.
yeah, I'd rather.
Age has affected her hearing.
I'm not saying.
And other things.
Actually, listening to you guys all the time would affect your hearing.
We're trying to drone things out, right?
Sure.
You're under oath, Mr. Felty. Could you please state your full name and business address?
Earl R. Felty, 13 Dogwood Drive, Wyomissing, PA 11565.
And are you a licensed surveyor in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
I am
And for about how many years have you been a licensed surveyor?
40 plus,
And have you testified in front of zoning boards before?
yes,
Have you been qualified as an expert with respect to land development and surveying?
I believe so, yes.
Unless there's any questions about Mr. Felty's qualifications, I'd submit him as an expert in surveying and land planning.
No objection from the board.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Felty, I'm going to turn this over to you. If you could go up there, but keep your voice up so Ms. Dilks can hear you. If you want to, oh, it's up there.
I have a laser pointer, hold on one second.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Be aim to please.
so you probably can talk from here.
So just hit that button. It shows up better on that screen than the TV.
Which one is that to show?
The bottom.
Bottom?
So if you could orient the board to the proposed demolition and then proposed construction and describe it.
Okay, so down here off Hobart is that little one-story building these guys have been talking about, where he has office and a little showroom in, that's gonna be demolition. That's the one that's 4.5 feet off the right-of-way line of Hobart. And then
Mr.
here,
Felty, just for the purpose of the record, it
Yeah.
says something, I can't read it real well. Does it say something office? There we go.
Existing
Oh,
office.
existing office, okay.
yeah, to be,
So-
TBR in parentheses is to be removed.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. So that's the one that's only 4.5 foot setback. And then here is the bank's property that they had gotten a variance maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, and there, it says 12.94, but actually we're just rounding to 13 feet. And that's what we want to say ours at, 13 feet. So then, going back to this hatched-in area here is the existing 2.5-story frame dwelling house that before Mr. Olt had the property was rented as a rental property, and that will also be removed.
And then, why don't you show the proposed building and give the outline of the proposed building?
Okay, so the proposed building is this double line going around, it's gonna be 40 feet, and I have these two numbers, that's the showroom area there, which is 20, and then the basement storage is 32, and then on top of that, for 52 feet, but on top of that, for 52 feet by 40 feet will be the new second floor, which will be office space.
And this proposed office space is only for the use of Mr. Olt and his company, correct?
That's what I understand.
And then, why don't you show the existing parking on the site and what you propose to do for this new building?
So right now, the macadam area is pretty much from behind this existing building and back to where this existing building is. And it's not striped or anything, it's just various parking spaces. So we're proposing to have 13 newly paved striped parking spaces as part of this project.
And those spaces will comply with the Borough of Wyomissing codes and ordinances?
That is correct.
And have you had a chance to show these plans to Ms. Bear before today?
I believe she has seen them
And,
once or twice.
and is this in compliance with any conversations you had with Ms. Bear? You improved it as best you could to bring it into compliance with borough codes and ordinances?
That is correct.
And is it my understanding that even if the zoning board were to grant your approval, you'd still have to go in front of the planning commission and borough council to obtain preliminary and final plan approval with respect to water, surface water retention and things like that,
That is correct. Yes.
and lighting?
Yes.
Are there any proposed outdoor lights at the property if it's going to be developed?
I'm sure there will be. We haven't gotten that far yet. We haven't gotten to lighting.
And if we look at that existing 15-foot wide alley, where it says per part number 1, that is the shop where Mr. Olt performs his auto body repairs today, right?
And that is correct.
And that existing alley, from your research, is owned by the Borough of Wyomissing?
Yes.
So the deeds would reference that they do not, per part 1 and 19 State Hill Road do not take to the middle of that alley, correct?
That's correct. They do not touch each other.
I don't have any questions. Any more questions for Mr. Felty?
I have a backup question for Mr. Olt. I'd forgotten about the storage area. You use a lot of flammable chemicals. Are they gonna be stored in there?
No, not over there. Everything is stored upstairs, and it's not flammable. Linux is not flammable.
Yeah, but in the auto business, in the auto repair business,
Yeah, everything's stored over.
it's all kept on the other
Yeah.
side. Okay, all right.
That's mainly gonna be used for, the new building is gonna be mainly used for accessories. Bars, whatnot for trucks.
Dan, do you have questions?
No, I don't think I do. My questions are answered.
Okay.
Any other members of the board? Well,
You're getting off easy.
I am getting off easy. I think just in summary, it's a really nice plan for the borough. It's not a truly residential area over there anymore. I guess years ago it must have been at some point, but it's mainly commercial. We asked for some other relief if necessary, but we don't believe the clear site triangle is necessary. If you enforce the clear site triangle there, the property would be undeveloped. You just couldn't do it. And because the zoning ordinance doesn't define arterial road, we're not sure it could be enforced anyway against the property owner, since it's just not in the zoning ordinance. I'd also, by way of anecdote, that's a right turn only off Hobart on the State Hill, controlled by numerous traffic lights at both Penn Avenue and State Hill and further up towards the Granite Run property. Although you can get some backed up vehicles on Hobart to turn right, you generally have time between the lights changing to have at least 1 to 3 cars make entrance onto State Hill heading up towards the mall. So I don't believe there's any safety issues. It's certainly a nice improvement to the neighborhood. There's going to be green space around the building, and I know Mr. Olt would appreciate the ability to construct this nice building.
Mr. Price, can you just run through with me what relief exactly you request?
Well, I think Ms. Barrett might agree with me. I think we only need relief from section 504, 20-foot yard, front yard. We're requesting a variance of 7 feet off of that, so we're gonna be 13 feet off the property line. By way of just being careful, we added section 615.2, relief from clear sight triangle if necessary, and section 608, relief regarding the loading area if necessary. Maybe I can have Mr. Felty talk about the loading area. I think your ordinance does require a loading area at a building, that would be a showroom, but there's no necessity in this case because the amount of product that is kept in there does not require a large truck to back off the main thoroughfare of Hobart and unload. Would that be correct, Mr. Felton?
Yes, and I think the owner, Mr. Olt, had already talked with Michelle about all his deliveries he gets now is over at 1140 Hobart RH Wrangler. He doesn't really plan on having trucks back in through that new parking lot to the Linex building. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah, everything
It
can
won't
still
be
get unloaded.
I'm more than one.
Mr. Olt?
Yes, everything can still get unloaded in front of 1140.
And typically, how many truckloads and what kind of trucks do you get a week to unload at your shop?
Typically, the bigger is only like once a month.
And when you say bigger, is that a,
That's my supply from Linex is when we have a bigger truck.
From Lennox, did you say?
Linex, yeah,
Okay.
correct.
and would that be like a 26-foot truck? Or would it-
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, 26.
And then other stuff would come in by vans as needed?
Correct, and that gets all delivered over 1140.
So 26 foot, is that a box truck? Is that what that is? Straight box.
Say yes.
Yes,
And the rest are vans, you mean just a typical delivery van style truck?
correct.
So Mr. Price, just for clarification, so 504 is the setback, 615 is the site triangle. Is the site triangle related to the definition?
I believe it is, to the arterial, Ms. Barrett, I think, can
We
confirm
can
that.
have her talk about that in a minute, so but that's what you're asking for. You believe it's not necessary because arterial street is not defined.
Right, and if it is necessary, we'd ask
And you're asking
for
for
the.
the relief.
Yes, sir.
And then the 608 is loading area, your position on that is that loading area is not needed because it's not going to have delivery to this site for large trucks. And to the extent there is a larger truck that comes, it would be delivered to the Hobart Street property.
You summarized it correctly, sir.
Thank you very much. That concludes the relief that you're requesting?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, time for housekeeping?
Well, yes. Before we go, I just want to ask Michelle. Michelle, can you talk to us a little bit about the arterial street issue?
Sure, so, I mean, tried to spell it out pretty clearly in my memo under number 10. There's no definition in the zoning ordinance or the subdivision and land development ordinance for what an arterial street is. When I had conversations with Mr. Olt and Mr. Felty about this project and the review that was done on it, I questioned what they would classify it as under the subdivision and land development street definitions. We all agreed it's a collector street. The clear sight triangle that is required to be provided for that type of street is only 75 feet, which if you give me a second to flip back to the site plan, the applicant is proposing to provide a clear sight triangle of at least 80 feet. Of course, I went the wrong direction.
Michelle, while you're digging through that, are you saying that the saldo does define collector and arterial?
Collector, not arterial.
Does not?
We have no definition for arterial whatsoever. So you can see, let me, right here, there is a clear sight triangle of 80 feet being for this type of intersection based off what myself and the borough engineer are classifying State Hobart and Hobart Avenue's street classifications, 75 is the minimum required, so they're going 5 feet above that. So based off of that, no definition being provided in the zoning ordinance or the subdivision and land development ordinance, I determined no relief was necessary from that section, erring in favor of the applicant and the interpretation of the zoning ordinance.
And the borough engineer is satisfied with the
80
80
feet.
feet that's provided.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, now in some housekeeping. In your capacity as the secretary for the zoning hearing board, what are your duties and responsibilities?
As the secretary to the zoning hearing board, I prepared a public notice that was advertised in the Reading Eagle on November 16th and 23rd. That same notice was posted on the subject property on November 4th of 2021 at approximately 1:30 p.m. and was mailed to all adjacent property owners within at least 300 feet of the subject property on November 1st of 2021 at approximately 8:30 a.m.
Do you have a copy of those documents with you?
I do.
Mark, which is board exhibit number 1. As the secretary of the zoning hearing board, do you have any other comments or information that would be relevant to the hearing today?
I do not.
Okay, since you have in your capacity as the zoning officer for the borough, what are your duties and responsibilities?
I have prepared a memo to the zoning hearing board dated November 1st of 2021 summarizing the application and the relief requested.
Can you copy that to you as well today?
I do.
And mark this board exhibit number 2. In your capacity as the zoning officer, do you have any other information that would be relevant for the board's consideration today?
Only that I agree with both Mr. Felty and Mr. Old's statements that I think the proposed structure would be a vast improvement to the current building that is located there, would not have any detrimental impact on the surrounding properties, and would be a nice visual aesthetic when driving on State Hill or Hobart Avenue.
Anything more, Mr. Price?
Nope.
All right, if that's the case, then we will adjourn to see if we can reach a decision.
We'll leave the room.
You just wanna
I was gonna tell you to do that, but yeah, that's right.
I've been told that a lot.
I'm sure of that.
And pay their regulations, to be subject to the terms and conditions we put on record by our state.
Those conditions will be as follows. Comply with all testimony that's been presented today, to obtain and pay for all permits, to comply with all laws, rules, regulations, ordinances. All deliveries must be made to 1140 Hobart Avenue and not to this particular site. You have to obtain your approval from the planning commission and the borough council. No body work or line X work can be conducted from the new building, but that's solely for storage in the office area space. And finally, that you'll complete the relief within 1 year of the date of the written decision. If you need more time, you can go talk to the zoning officer, and she can give you an extension of additional time.
Thank you. Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, relief is granted.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great holiday season, everybody.
Thank you, Steve.
Is Drew coming up north at all or not?
We never know, Steve.
Once in a while he calls me, he goes, I'm driving by Porter's Lake.
Are you gonna come to the
I'm
PC meeting
in
on
Reading.
Monday?
Yeah,
Give me
I know.
like 2 days heads up.
Well, you know, commuting between Sun
3:30.
Valley and
Right here.
Austin, Texas, kind of takes a little time.